Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast where we wish those fired at ESPN today the best in their future endeavors. It's Lost in the Midcard. Welcome to the WWE Payback preview show. Welcome to all of that. We are going to break down the card here, give our predictions and whatnot in a very interesting pay-per-view coming up here this Sunday on the WWE Network. But first, thank you to SpiderDuck.net for being our host, enabling us to be on iTunes and any of your favorite podcasting apps. What you got to do is search for Lost in the Midcard, hit that subscribe button, and you'll know each and every time a new episode comes your way, mostly every Thursday and most Mondays after a WWE pay-per-view, except this one. We will not have a show after Payback, as I am not going to be around for that. So we will break down Payback on our normal show next week. You can subscribe to us on YouTube as well. Links to all that are on our Facebook page, facebook.com/LostInTheMidcard. Go to the notes section, and that's where you'll find our links to the subscriptions. And we're also on the Twitter at LITMC Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Bennett. You can find me on the Twitter at JBHuskers. And not, as always, joining me tonight, he is the proprietor of SpiderDuck.net. He is the commissioner of Black Diamond Wrestling. Joining me tonight, it is Mr. Trevor Osz. Trevor, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing good. Is there a pay-per-view this Sunday?
I don't know.
I mean, if you watched Raw, I couldn't really tell.
My anniversary is on Sunday, and we were gonna originally go out to eat and maybe watch the pay-per-view. Now I'm like, I'm not even in a hurry to come back and watch the pay-per-view. I'm all about watching it at work on my phone on Monday, I think. It seems like it's gonna be a throwaway. I don't know. I mean, the House of Horrors probably be cool, and now it's
maybe
or
it's gonna be real stupid. Yeah. One of the two.
Now that it's not for the title, maybe that's hope for Wyatt. It's weird that they all of a sudden were hush-hush, and it was no longer for the title, but,
Wait, did they say that?
They quit mentioning it, is what they said.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was kind of how they said it, was they quit mentioning it. It's not even on... we noticed it on Wikipedia last week. They removed mention of it being for the title, and WWE itself is not even... mentioned it was for the title. So,
well, WWE does like to do that. If they want to change something, they just stop talking about it.
Yeah, Vince tearing up the script 5 minutes before the show. Hey, all right, let's do this on the fly. No Matt Black this evening. He is a little under the weather. Hopefully he will get better soon, and then hopefully be able to join us here next week as we break down the pay-per-view that nobody saw in Payback. First, some headlines. First off, Ric Flair announced on Twitter that last night his fiancée, Wendy Barlow, was involved in a serious car accident and was hospitalized. And Rick gave us an update earlier on this morning, and said that she will be okay following the car accident, and thanking everyone for their support. So good to hear the good news for Wendy there. Talking Smack last night ended in a brawl. Baron Corbin didn't like the words that were coming out of Sami Zayn's mouth, and so he decided to beat the shit out of him. And WWE fined and suspended him for 1 week due to his actions. Oh my God. 1 week suspension, Trevor. What's he gonna do?
Well, maybe he'll have a nice week off. I'm sure he lives in Florida, like most of the graduates of the Performance Center. So I'm sure he'll go out there, get a couple Mai Tais, maybe hang out on the beach, maybe get a new tat.
Yeah,
that's stuff Baron Corbin would do.
Take in a rock show.
Yeah, exactly.
Too bad Impact's not taping this week. He could have maybe tuned in, attended that.
Come on, nobody tunes into that.
Yeah, I haven't in weeks, so I gave it a try, and week 1 under the Jarrett regime was good. Week 2 was shit, and I just haven't watched since. And apparently I'm not missing much either, so.
No, I mean, if you want to see the rise of Josh Matthews as a wrestling character, then maybe you'll want to watch it, but I don't think anybody wants to see that.
Yeah, we'll mention somebody that returned and that really doesn't want to make me turn on the television. We'll get to that in a minute. But a rumor killer.
I'm talking about Drew McIntyre like that. Jeez.
Yeah, I know. Rumors of some firings within NXT or releases within NXT happened yesterday. Mainly a couple, Chris Adkins, who had like 2 televised matches. He had 10 matches total with NXT and lost them all except for he had 1 draw with Mojo Rawley. I don't know how that became a draw. He was last seen taking on Eric Young in January in a squash match on NXT, so nobody really noticed he was gone. Andrea DeMarco is probably the biggest name. She was a backstage interviewer. She was just okay. I mean, she didn't really stand out to me. A lot of rumors were that Josh Brettel, who is known as Bronson somebody, I can't remember what it, Action Bronson.
Yeah, I can't remember what it. Yeah,
Action Bronson. Rumor killer Mike Johnson from PW Insider says that he is still under his NXT deal. He is currently out with a concussion, so he is. Hold on, playa. He's not let go just of yet, but that was coming up on 2 years ago, right, Trevor?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm pretty sure he just has a regular NXT contract at this point.
Yeah, and he still
no tough enough contract,
and he still hasn't appeared on TV yet.
Well, I mean, he wasn't a wrestler before he started, so
I guess that's
true.
true.
It takes a little bit of actual training and that sort of thing, and he's had some setbacks as far as his social media presence goes, if you remember any of that stuff. So,
what happened there?
Remember he said something about guys on the main roster jobbing, and then everybody got pissed off about him for it.
Oh.
So, basically that he didn't show enough respect to those that are on TV, even if they're losing. And I agree with those guys that were upset about it. But it was a dumb comment made by someone who was new in the business. So, I mean, you can't give him too much shit for it, but
Well, just put him in the ring with Hardcore Holly, and that would teach him about respect pretty quick.
Yeah, we all make those stupid comments though, every once in a while, and then you're just like, shit, maybe I shouldn't have said that.
Some unfortunate news for the 205 Live fans. Tajiri has announced that he is no longer with the WWE. Basically, age and his body are kind of some of the factors along with that. So he had took to Twitter and over the course of a few tweets explained that he's leaving and heading back to Japan, thanking everybody for the support. It was good to see Tajiri one last time though, for a brief period in the WWE though. And oddly enough, WWE filed a trademark for Tajiri. Oops. But, hey, those things happen. They also filed trademarks for Jack Gallagher and Big Cass. Eric Bischoff. Oh, go ahead, Trevor.
I was going to say, I'm surprised they didn't have Big Cass already.
I know. I figured Vince would have that as soon as he had laid eyes on him.
Well, I guess filing trademarks on time, you can't teach that.
Yeah, especially when you file a trademark on a guy that left the company.
Well, granted, I mean that one's a little bit, they didn't. I don't think they knew he was going to leave when they did that. So,
Eric Bischoff talked to Main Event Radio recently. Talked about inducting DDP into the Hall of Fame and WCW and everything. And coming back to the WWE for the Hall of Fame ceremony, he said it was a lot of fun. You get to meet so many people who are behind the camera. They have such a hardworking, loyal, professional, and dedicated staff. I was probably just as excited to see people who work behind the scenes as those in front of the camera. The woman who handles travel, who has been there for 31 years. The production team, they all know who they are, and they're a great staff of people. On inducting DDP, he said it was a blast. It was an emotional moment. I knew how much it would mean to him. Thus, it meant a lot to me to be able to do it. I felt bad in a way. I kind of felt conflicted because in Page's heart, he wished and still does wish that Dusty Rhodes would have been able to do that. I feel like such a distant, insignificant second choice as a result. I also know that Page has a lot of respect for me, and I do for him. I wish Dusty could have done it. Dusty was a mentor to Dallas in more ways than just getting him in the ring. He had influence on his entire life. Did you get a chance to watch the Hall of Fame ceremony, Trevor?
Of course I did.
Yeah, that was DDP was they were all good. I mean,
I was going to say that this year was probably one of the best Hall of Fames as far as speeches go in a while. I would say overall. I mean, you had some. I would say everybody pretty much knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, it was real. It didn't feel like 4 hours at all.
No, it really didn't. And that's why, like, when people were complaining about the time, I was like, I didn't even notice because it was so good.
Yeah. I love the story, about him and Dusty and saying he would at this point he's never going to be a world champion, and Dusty just basically chewed his ass out, and that kind of got his ass into gear, and a few years later, lo and behold, a guy that didn't start in the business until age 35, wasn't supposed to be anybody, became somebody, and now he's in the Hall of Fame.
Well, I guess I got 4 years to get in shape and then start retraining for professional wrestling.
I'm already 3 years past, so I'm already facing an uphill battle. Mike Bennett and Maria Kanellis Bennett were also on Main Event Radio. Man, they're getting some guests lately, and they talked about how they met and such, and also about leaving Impact. Maria said it was wonderful there. We had a great time. We worked with the best talent in the world. They were fantastic, and we really enjoyed ourselves. It was just time to go. We're excited to see where the road leads us next. WWE, maybe the moon. Maybe I'll go back and be a manager at Jimmy John's. Wouldn't that be funny? And Mike said it was time for a change. Leaving all the talent was the hardest part. We'll go somewhere. If not, we'll be living on the street in a box. Well, hey, at least they have goals, right? All right, Trevor?
Well, I mean, I know you're close to the situation being Mike's brother, so.
Yeah, we had a moment on Twitter. We're talking about old Uncle Tony a couple weeks ago. We were talking about Uncle Tony. So I called him my brother from another mother. That was
the same one.
That was kind of fun. That was kind of funny. He made a comment about an Uncle Tony. We've been over the past few weeks saying, "Oh, look at all these guys leaving Impact Wrestling." Well, we got one that's coming back to Impact Wrestling. Matt Sydal, also known as Evan Bourne, is going to return at these last tapings that just had occurred, I believe. So obviously no longer with Ring of Honor, and of course got in a little trouble, so he kind of a little hard to get into Japan as well. So
yeah, I mean. It was so stupid of him. I mean, I realized, like, I understand why he was, smoking marijuana and stuff, because it does help when you have when you're hurt. I get it. But to get that stuff into another country, especially when you might not be as familiar with their laws and that sort of thing, that's real dicey.
Not smart at all.
No.
Well, Trevor, will this get your butts back in the seats? Coming back to Impact Wrestling will be none other than Scott Steiner at Slammiversary. Josh and Scott Steiner will take on Jeremy Borash and somebody else. I can't even remember who his partner is.
Paulo, if you hear me.
Was it Magnus?
Sure.
I don't know. I don't know who Borash, JB's partner is.
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, and no offense to Magnus, I just, he's a good wrestler. I don't know. I never got invested in his character at all.
I thought his feud with Bram was pretty good. I was entertained by that.
Maybe I didn't watch enough Impact when he was on there to really, so. To me, I mean, as far as look and stuff goes, he just kind of looks cookie cutter. I mean, he's in good shape and stuff, but I mean, he very much looks like that, like WWE, like early 2000s. Everybody looks the same.
Yeah, which is surprising that he's not in the WWE. I'm surprised Vince didn't see who Mickie James's husband is, but I digress.
Well, at this point, I mean, he's kind of like like they have so many guys, and so many guys are unique.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard for him to stand out in a room full of people, like Shinsuke Nakamura. And I would have even said it might be hard to stand out if you're Bobby Roode, but they did a good job of repackaging Bobby Roode
by far,
and bringing it out. So I mean, if anybody could package Magnus and make him something different and make him stand out, it's certainly the machine that is the Performance Center and Triple H. But at the same time, it just depends on whether they think he has something to offer.
Well, and on top of that, you could probably mold Bobby Roode much easier, as he's one of the best in the world. So.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I was way off. JB's partner is Joseph Parks.
Oh, old Joe's back.
Joe is back. Yeah, we got a little Decay news here coming up, but yeah, that'll be. So yeah, are you gonna buy the Slammiversary pay-per-view for the return of Scott Steiner?
Well, let me tell you. A, I didn't know they still did pay-per-views.
Yeah, this is going to be a pay-per-view.
B, I don't think I would have bought a pay-per-view for Scott Steiner 10 years ago, let alone in 2017, where I doubt he's really going to be able to... I mean, I could be wrong.
Maybe kick your ass!
Maybe he can go. I don't know. Like, I saw Scott Norton wrestle at an indie show like 3 weeks ago, and he can still go. So, like, who's to say?
Yeah, but Steiner's mobility was, yeah.
Yeah, it was limited at that point, for sure. Like, even towards the end of WCW, even his WWE run. So, I mean, I just don't care. Like, but at this point in time, I just don't know if they have anybody that could come into TNA that would make me care. Maybe CM Punk.
Yeah, that'd be about it.
That'd be about the only person.
Newsweek is reporting that former SmackDown announcer Mauro Ranallo has confirmed that he has parted ways with the WWE, and states that it has nothing to do with the claims of bullying by his announced partner JBL. He goes, WWE and I have mutually agreed to part ways, has nothing to do with JBL, and Ranallo remains under contract until August 12th, 2017. Do you buy it?
Yeah, I do. I mean, do I think JBL's done some shitty stuff in the past? Yeah, I definitely think that. But I don't think JBL has anything to gain by sitting there and if I were to guess, it would probably be a lot of pressure being an announcer for Vince and we've heard the stories that Mick Foley's told about Vince McMahon being in his ear and that sort of thing. And I'm sure it was the same thing with Mauro and wanting him to do announcing a certain way and with a certain cadence and wanting to push things. I mean, the reason they brought Tom Phillips into the announce team is for him to actually do the pushing of the social media stuff and all that, that sort of thing.
The reads and all that shit.
Yeah, so that Mauro could focus on just the play-by-play. So, I just don't think it was a culture that fit for Mauro, which sucks because he's a fantastic announcer. It's a very high-pressure job to be an announcer for WWE.
My hope was the fences would be amended eventually and maybe move Mauro to NXT,
Yeah.
But alas, maybe New Japan is a call-in in the fall, possibly.
But hey, some people just can't, and I'm not trying to put this on Mauro or anything. It's just, it's more of just like I wouldn't say like he can't handle it. I would say it's just more of like a clash of different mindsets,
Yeah.
Some people just don't work well together.
And I got blocked by JBL because Mauro retweeted me, so. It's like, gee, thanks, JBL. Though I didn't say nice things about him anyways, but.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't
But
mind.
but Meltzer. I mean, it's interesting. Meltzer had said he's got a mountain of evidence of dozens of people that he's talked to within the company.
Hey, I mean, it could be the case. It
Yeah.
could be the case. I mean, it's no secret that JBL's been accused of being a bully in the past. People have flat out told stories about him doing it. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, and I wouldn't be surprised if they came to terms on something where Morrow basically denies it.
Yeah.
So, it's one of those things I don't think we'll ever know. But I don't think it was just JBL. I think it was an overall culture thing, and it sucks. I mean, I agree with that, but I mean, working for Vince is tough as shit.
Yeah.
Like as much as I have said before that I would love to work for WWE, and I mean, Vince, if you're listening, give me a call. But
I know they want to get in the podcasting business.
But it's a very hard job. Vince likes stuff done a certain way. If it's not done a certain way, he's going to yell at you for it because he thinks that will get you to do it the way that he wants you to.
Yeah,
So,
I'm sure Tom Phillips. Well, Vince doesn't normally at SmackDown though, so I think maybe Tom Phillips was lucky because he said Bollywood Boys and then corrected himself to the Singh brothers.
yeah, well, they're also transitioning to that name. So
yeah,
I mean, they've been the Bollywood Boys for years.
Yeah,
And,
it was just the way it was just
the
the way Tom delivered it. It was like,
Yeah.
yep, he just got told in his ear. Cody Rhodes. We'll talk about a very interesting thing that Cody Rhodes had delved with just before his release in WWE. But he was with Baby Huey and Bembo Jimbo of 107.7 The Bone. That's a hell of a name of a show. Baby Huey and Bembo Jimbo.
I really hope they have a segment called the Bone Zone.
The Bone Zone. He talked about JBL. He said, I've known JBL since I first got there, in about 2007. I've never encountered that with John at all. Wrestling isn't for everybody, though. It's not bullying sometimes when it's just playful ribbing. I never personally saw anyone bullying the entire time, and I was there for 11 years and in every locker room.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the cases, I do think it's just if someone feels they're being bullied, I think a lot of it isn't meant maliciously.
Yeah.
A lot of it is meant to be playful and fun, but some people can sometimes take that a little too far and not realize it.
Well, there was also rumors that a lot of the stuff didn't come from JBL. It came from the production room, and where they treated Morrow like crap.
Yeah.
So maybe Cody didn't see that. I mean, those are things.
Yeah, that's very possible.
Cody wouldn't be in it, so maybe it wasn't JBL directly. But at the same time, somebody's not just going to bully someone in public; they're going to do it privately. So, yeah,
right.
It's and we're never going to know now. Apparently,
no, I doubt we will. I really doubt we'll know for sure, unless someone that's not Morrow comes out and says something and they have actual proof of it, but I don't see anybody really doing that.
Another trademark, WWE files one for the Hardy Boys, and Matt's starting to become a little more broken, I noticed. So,
he's a little bit conflicted apparently.
He tweeted earlier, but also he did more than just one delete in a row. Monday he did a few, so that's good. Do you want them both to be broken, or do you want what would you rather have? Would you rather have them both be broken, like in TNA, or would you like what is rumored, where Matt is broken and Jeff becomes another back into the main event picture?
I could see that.
What would you like better, though? Would you like them both to be broken or just Matt?
Honestly, I don't think the broken gimmick part of it really does anything for Jeff, per se, because I don't think it really changes his character at all.
It did a little, but...
it's more subtle changes and not a huge overall change like it does for Matt.
And it made Matt a main event player. I mean,
yeah, exactly. So, obviously, WWE has always seen Jeff as a main event player over Matt.
Yeah. And the rumors were that they were going to put him in different brands too, if that was the case. But I don't know.
I could see that. I could see them trying to go with the broken thing on SmackDown.
Yeah.
SmackDown definitely seems like the land where they're giving people shots, trying different things.
Yeah, and then Vince is typically not in Gorilla and SmackDown, so Matt probably could have more of the creative freedom that he wants there too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it sounds like they want to push Jeff sky high. And one of the keys to the rumors, I think Meltzer might have said this, was there was a point in 2009, I don't know if you're aware of this, Trevor, but there was a point in 2009 where Hardy's merch sales topped Cena's.
Oh, I could definitely see that.
Yeah, and
I could absolutely see that. I mean, they've always been awesome at selling merch and stuff like that. I mean, they've always been hugely popular because they always just had that like connection like with the audience, because I think people knew their story. People knew they were wrestling fans that got into it at a young age, pretty much almost self-taught themselves, how to wrestle. And I think people connected with that and just always wanted to get behind them regardless of the situation.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff was my number one guy until he left.
Yeah, I was always a Matt guy. So when Matt started to become a main event player in other places, and even before the broken stuff, like in Ring of Honor and that, I was happy to see that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm trying to think of who my number one guy was before Jeff. Because it's kind of fuzzy. I would say probably Sting. And then I got into the Hardys. I think that's probably the progression of it. It's a little fuzzy right now, but
yeah, my original couple were Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. But.
Yeah, mine were oddly enough Sting, Surfer Sting, because I always watched NWA on Saturdays. Mm-hmm. And in the WWE, all I watched was like Superstars back in the day.
Yeah.
We didn't have cable right away. When my mom got remarried, we lived on a farm. So we didn't have cable right away, and so I didn't really get into Raw until college.
Yeah,
which was the Attitude Era, so that was a good time to get into it.
That's a good time to get into it. Like I kind of got into wrestling in general, like right before that, because I started watching wrestling in the summer of '96 when Shawn Michaels had the title. So
yeah, I mean I started watching NWA days. I would say 84, 85. TBS. I'd always stay at my grandma's on Saturday. And my uncle, who's mentally retarded, at the time lived with my grandma before she had to go into a home, and I'd always stay at my grandma's on Saturdays, and so me and my uncle would always watch wrestling. So he was a big fan, and so obviously as a kid I got into the Stinger, but I loved the Four Horsemen too, just because it was always entertaining to watch, even as you may not have understood it as a 6 and 7 year old, but those guys, they had a presence in the room, and it was a lot of fun. So WWE, it was Superstars, and I was a Razor Ramon guy, oddly enough.
Yeah, I always liked Ray. Like, I mean, he was kind of out of WWF at the time that I started watching, but literally once I started watching, I was hooked and would go to Blockbuster and rent like every old Coliseum home video that I could get my hands on.
Coliseum home video.
So...
but yeah, so then after Jeff left, it went to Jericho, and then Jericho kind of was bouncing in and out, and it was Ambrose, and when Ambrose showed up at Access to get in Foley's face, I got a little giddy, because I'd been following Ambrose the John Moxley days and FCW a little bit, and I was getting behind this guy, because I was like, this guy's got a nice badass blue collar kind of attitude with him, and when he got in Foley's face, I was like, oh man, this is going to be like his introduction to the big time. But unfortunately, Foley couldn't medically be cleared to compete, and so that never happened. And then the thing called the Shield happened, so I guess it was okay for Dean, right?
Yeah. It worked out.
Speaking of the Hardys, WWE officially filed a trademark for the Hardy Boys. Former WWE superstar Jack Swagger, he announced that he will be participating in the Australian tour for the House of Hardcore this June, so that'll be his debut for Tommy Dreamer's promotion, which I'm happy to hear that it is continuing to get bigger and bigger. So That's some good stuff. I wonder. I wonder if eventually it'll get big enough for TV. Yeah, I kind of wonder. I wonder if House of Hardcore will ever get to that point.
I mean, I could see it. I mean, they're already on the Flow Sports bandwagon.
Mm-hmm.
All their stuff is through them currently. But I kind of don't know if indie promotions need TV anymore. We're in such a different climate as far as the wrestling business goes, where you're going to have WWE, which is going to be the top dog, and they're always going to be on TV. But I think so many wrestling fans consume content in so many different ways, and you have so many different services, like Chikara's Chikaratopia, and every other streaming all the big indies have their own streaming service, or they're on the Flow Slam stuff that Evolve is on.
Is Flow Slam kind of like High Spots?
In a way, they do like the live indie events, like they do Evolve and Shine and Full Impact Pro. So they do all like the Gabe Sapolsky stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then they've signed on House of Hardcore. They've done their last few shows on there, and they do a couple of the.
Are those pay-per-view? Are those pay to watch, the live ones?
No, they do a $20 a month service, which isn't bad considering that if you do pay to watch any of those shows, it's like $20. So I mean, for $20 you can get all the shows in a month. So you're gonna get like a value of like $100 worth of shows in a month, at least, maybe more, if you subscribe at the right time.
Exactly. Oh, this tweet by Vince McMahon, I'm sure, got the IWC riled up. A couple days ago, hustle, loyalty, and respect is not just an expression, it's the measure of a man. Happy birthday to the Babe Ruth of the WWE, John Cena. I could just hear the internet wrestling community, the IWC.
Yeah, but you know what? The internet wrestling community is sometimes wrong.
Yeah.
Look, John Cena is as much as people want to shit on John Cena he lives hustle, loyalty, and respect. That dude works harder than anybody else, and he deserves the spot he's in. So
yeah, that's true. And I'm not one of those Cena haters either. I mean, I just could imagine the internet when Vince tweeted that. So
yeah, I mean, anybody that still is on Cena's jock in a serious way, I understand if they're doing the Cena sucks thing as a way to go along and have fun. That's fine.
I think now it's kind of evolved to that, almost like with the Kurt Angle's "you suck" thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's how it should be, and I think that's part of John Cena as a character.
And Angle knows that. He said it himself. He knows it's a level of respect at this point.
Yeah, exactly. So I think John Cena deserves respect, and honestly, in the past 2 to 3 years, John Cena's had the best matches that he's ever had with a variety of people, even people that you didn't know he was going to get a good match out of. He had a good match with. So
I mean, go back Stardust in the Open Challenge.
Oh yeah, the Open Challenge was some of John Cena's best work.
Yep, that was kind of the start of it.
Yeah,
and the same with Roman Reigns. I mean.
Oh, I agree. People give Roman shit for no reason.
No. And I don't know. I don't know how to fix that, but I
don't know how to fix that either. Because the thing is, if they straight up turn him heel, then people are just gonna fucking cheer him.
Yep.
So it's not gonna have the desired effect. So I mean, in a way, it's kind of he's just gonna end up probably being the next Cena in that sense, where. Nobody gives him respect, and he just does his thing. So
yeah,
that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No, I don't know. It's weird, and and I asked a buddy of mine who has been writing. He's had a website for a long time, and such. My buddy John Canton at TJR Wrestling, and I asked him. I go, what is it going to? What does it take? What is missing from today's baby faces that the people don't get behind him? I mean, for example, Roman obviously, but even guys like T.J. Perkins. People booed him. Andrade Cien Almas, people booed him. Didn't like his face personality.
Yeah, I think people just like somebody with an edge.
Yeah, and John told me he thinks it's just simply the fans are so fickle.
That's definitely part of it.
Nothing to do with the wrestler. It's just fans are fickle, and it's like that,
But I'll tell you what though, like a good baby face that's extremely likable, and is just a good dude, like works extremely well on a local independent level. Because I've seen a lot of good baby faces just go out there and you can tell they're having fun and they get the crowd into it. So
you got guys like Sami Zayn, is probably the top case of an ultimate white meat baby face. Roderick Strong, though he did some good heel work at the end of his Ring of Honor run.
Yeah,
he's your prototypical white meat baby face, and a completely baby face with the great story they told of him on NXT tonight. So a lot of it's probably just the IWC.
Yeah, they're only gonna like it's one of those things where like I hate wrestling fans sometimes.
Yeah.
Because they only like guys that spent 15 years on the indies and worked their way up, and it's like that's not the only path in, guys. Like,
no.
Just because someone got a shot after being a football player or something doesn't mean they didn't work hard while they were there to try to improve themselves and get better. People get shit for that, and they really shouldn't.
Not really a fan of MTV since like 1999 when they got rid of music videos, but this is interesting as they have announced that CM Punk has been announced to join the upcoming latest edition of The Challenge, which will be called Champs vs. Pros. I believe this is the 30th installment of the series, if I remember correctly.
Hell yeah, JB!
Yeah. This was a show that evolved from the Road Rules challenges type of thing. So it's going to be a reality competition where some of the best competitors from the show will take on professional athletes. CM Punk included there. A couple of Candice Wiggins, former WNBA star, is among them as well. Sean Merriman, former NFL player, will be on the show. So kind of interesting to see Punk kind of do something like this.
Yeah, I was very surprised to see his name thrown in there like that, but very excited because I fucking love the challenge.
Do you?
Yeah, dude, I watch that shit every single season. There's a season going right now. I'm watching it. It's full of dumb drama.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know. Like I like me a good like reality TV competition show.
I do too. I absolutely love Redneck Island.
Yes, yeah, I haven't actually watched that one.
That Steve Austin hosts. And,
yeah.
I think that's great. But then you got your actual competition shows like the Broken Skull Challenge with Steve Austin. That is another great show too. And but
you know what? The early
Island,
seasons
that's full of drunk Southern people yelling at each other. So
yeah, and
but it's a competition too.
Basically, the challenge is full of good-looking, real-world people yelling at each other while drunk. So I mean, it's essentially the same thing with different ilks of people.
I can't wait for one of them to go, "Hey, CM Punk, hey Phil, bro, want a beer?"
Yeah, I could. Oh man, it's gonna be interesting to say the least. But I mean, the challenge is a show that The Miz was on before he was in WWE.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, if you think about that though, that's how long that show's been going.
Yeah,
he was on the first few challenges.
I think they said this was the 30th season. So
yeah, and it hasn't been going for 30 years. They usually do a couple seasons a year.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But it's a lot of fun to watch. I have to admit, it's my guilty pleasure, for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna set my calendar to remind myself to put her on the DVR. It'll be during SmackDown as it debuts Tuesday, May 16th at 8 Eastern. But I'm gonna give it a chance, and it's gonna be all because of CM Punk. So
yeah.
So there you go. That'll be.
Yeah, I'm excited, cool. And I just want to point out to everybody that also watches the challenge: if Johnny Bananas is not on that fucking show, he should be.
He should be.
Johnny Bananas is the GOAT of the challenge.
Shaquille O'Neal just celebrated his 100th episode of The Big Show.
I really thought you were going to say 100th birthday, but
close. Or The Big Podcast, not The Big Show. But we will talk about The Big Show. But The Big Podcast with Shaquille O'Neal celebrated his 100th episode, did a live episode, and kind of revealed what really did happen about why WrestleMania 33 did not come about. He said because they kept playing. First, they said it was me and Big Show. Then they wanted it to be a 3-on-3. Then they canceled it, so when they canceled it, I made other arrangements, and then they tried to call back and tried to get it done, and I said, I'm not going to do it. They messed that up. I firmly believe it was creative changing things constantly, and Shaq just said, okay.
Oh, absolutely. I could totally see that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of he said, she said going on about that, but yeah, I think creative fucked that up.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all.
World of Worlds is coming up May 12th in a couple of weeks in the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York City, and the main event is set. It's going to be Ring of Honor champion Christopher Daniels versus Cody Rhodes versus the winner of a Four Corners bout that features Jay Lethal, Adam Hangman Page, Silas Young, and Jay White. I don't know if that's happened or not, and I would assume Jay Lethal wins that because he's feuded with Cody, but I don't know, maybe they'll surprise us. I don't know. I haven't actually kept up with Ring of Honor since Daniels won the title, which I obviously had to watch because Daniels is a favorite of mine, and that was just an amazing moment.
Yeah, I haven't watched Ring of Honor in a while. It's just more like I just haven't had time. I
haven't had time. There's so much to watch on the WWE, and now they're gonna have another show.
Yeah, it's insane. There's too much wrestling on TV a lot of weeks. And I also like video games and comics, so I like to spread my time out a little bit. So
and I'm like not getting enough video game time for myself either. But I am digging into Mass Effect Andromeda. But life is too busy, and so lately Impact Wrestling and Ring of Honor have gone by the wayside. But this looks like a good pay-per-view, though. War of the World is always kind of weird because it's usually Ring of Honor jobbing to New Japan, but they got this match, and then also the television match is Marty Scurll against Matt Sydal, which will be fucking amazing, I think.
Yeah.
Naito's going to be there, who is currently the IWGP Intercontinental Champion. Tanahashi will be there. The never openweight champion, Hiroki Goto. Kushida, Evil, Gato, Bushi, Sonata. They will all be there. Bushi making his United States debut as well. The World of Worlds tour starts on May 7th, and the pay-per-view is on the 12th, and then they will do a TV taping on the 14th. So be interesting to see. Maybe I'll try to get myself caught up on a little Ring of Honor before the pay-per-view. Deadline.com is reporting that Sony TriStar Pictures will be producing a dramatic biographical film on the life of Vince McMahon. Pandemonium is what it's going to be called. It'll be directed by John Requa and Glenn Ficarra, based on a script by Craig A. Williams. And interesting. What they will do with that.
Yeah, it is interesting. It's interesting how wrestling's starting to cross over into like mainstream movies and TV, especially since that Glow TV show is going to be on Netflix soon. Mm-hmm. It's just kind of interesting to see some of that stuff.
Yeah, and you wonder what kind of liberties they'll take with this. I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
Can't wait to see who plays Vince McMahon and if he's got that strut down.
Played by Batista.
That would be great. Cody Rhodes, on that same interview with 107.7 The Bone, said, an interesting idea that was shot down. There was an idea in place. Obviously, talent was known a few months ahead of time of the brand split because Cody was released 2 months prior to the draft. And he goes, there was a point where Stardust was going to be on one brand and Cody Rhodes on the other. Cody said, I thought it was a really good idea. Absolutely wanted to do it. Everybody wanted to do it except for one person who will remain nameless. but that one person has the main vote. Gee, Trevor, who's he talking about?
Obviously, he's talking about Gold Dust.
Yeah.
No.
Oh,
it's
God.
Vince.
That
Vinny
would have
Mac.
been awesome.
Old Vin Mac.
How awesome would that have been?
That would have been really cool. Like, that's a really creative idea right there. And that's... Unfortunately, sometimes the really creative ideas are the ones that never get seen.
And the sad thing is, everybody seemed on board except Vince.
Yeah, sometimes he just doesn't see stuff that other people see, which is a shame. I mean, give credit where credit's due. Like he's obviously an awesome creative force in his own right, but not always. So but at the, that's what happens when you have one person like basically at the top. Some ideas don't go through, some do. And even bad ones go through. So,
what about the one where Big Dick Johnson appears on TV?
Yeah, it was a bad one. But that era was full of bad ones. So
I don't know where this came from. But on Reddit, apparently this surfaced. Justin Roberts talking about Kevin Dunn, and somebody asked Justin, how would you describe Kevin Dunn? Any interesting stories about him? And he said, Kevin Dunn sits on headsets during the show and just berates everyone. He's kind of on a throne there, just talks down to everyone, very negative, very high-strung, just heartless, not a man of his word. I'm thankful he hired me, but he's not a good person in a company full of great people.
Wow. Tell us how you really feel, Jay Roberts. It's
not a real surprise either.
No, I'm not surprised at all. But I think it's really interesting to see someone like Justin Roberts who worked on a production side and knows both the wrestlers and the production team. Yeah. So it's really, I need to read more of his book. I've read the first couple chapters.
Sounds like he's the guy behind the announcer now of House of Hardcore.
Yeah, I can definitely see. He's really good friends with Tommy Dreamer. Tommy Dreamer wrote the foreword to his book. So that doesn't surprise me one bit. But honestly, I think the guy, is an honest dude, and he was. Like I said, I read the first couple chapters in his book, and it goes into detail about him being a big wrestling fan and that. So, obviously, he just wanted to live a dream, and it kind of sucked the life out of him to an extent, but. But yeah, I'm glad to see he's getting at least something back with the success of the book and everything like that. So
yeah, exactly. Did you get to see Sin Cara's new attire?
I did not.
Yeah, on Twitter, Sin Cara posted earlier this week his attire. I will send that over to you via Twitter. It is pretty badass looking. I would say it. I'll send it to you right now here, and hopefully you can take a peek here. I'm gonna send it through the Twitter DMs, but it looks very Naomi inspired.
That's
still
interesting.
Still badass looking though. I think it looks pretty badass.
Let's see here. Jeremy Bennett shared a tweet.
I did.
On the Twitter machine.
I did.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's like I liked Callisto's new look too.
Yeah, exactly. Too bad it was thrown in the trash. That's funny, pal. Seth Rollins has a new finishing move. If you are a follower of everything behind the scenes, you know that he tried it out during a dark match after Raw. He unveiled it to the world on this week's Raw, and immediately everybody realized, oh, hey, Kenny Omega does that. And Kenny Omega took to Twitter saying, well, at least I still have my entrance music. And somebody said, I love you, Kenny, but no wrestler's completely original. Everyone's got their moves from somewhere. And Kenny said, I'm pretty sure most of my signature stuff is original, but that's a great go-to answer to defend everyone. And then he goes, well, to clarify, I'm not upset. The thievery of late is blatant and funny, but anyone is free to put their own spin on stuff, and I'll be out doing the same. I thought it was a pretty cool-looking finisher, though.
Yeah.
Kind of a Rainmaker setup into a knee.
Yep, ripcord knee.
Mick Foley underwent successful hip replacement surgery on 420. I wonder if they gave him some complimentary weed for having it on 420. I don't know. But he tweeted a picture sent a picture from his hospital bed and then wrote the following on Facebook. My mind wrote a lot of checks during the course of my career, and more often than not, it was my right hip that paid the bill. I always realized there would be a price to pay for having the privilege of taking flight on so many occasions, and I've been paying that price for quite a few years. I have had my right hip replaced on Wednesday, and I hope it is the game changer that so many claim it is. It certainly would be nice to lay down at night or wake up in the morning without a constant reminder of all those checks I wrote in my younger days. As it turns out, what I did was never flying, it was falling with style. But it's funny how falling feels like flying, at least for a little while. Thank you for the kind words, prayers, and well wishes. They are much appreciated. So get well soon, Micker. This is interesting, out of nowhere. From Decay, Crazy Steve has announced that he is leaving Impact Wrestling. And shortly thereafter, Dave Meltzer said, well, the reason why he's leaving is WWE offered him a contract. What are your thoughts of Crazy Steve on his time in Impact Wrestling, Trevor?
I mean, he seemed to get the character over, but I haven't really seen many of his matches, to be completely honest, because I really wasn't watching a ton of Impact, so...
Yeah, he's decent. I just didn't think he would ever be one that would be WWE bound, but there's a lot of interest. So,
but hey, the guy can do a character. We know that, so he could bring something interesting to the table. So
yeah, so more on that to come. For ratings this week, Impact Wrestling actually rose a little bit, but Total Divas is still beating it. Impact goes up to 320,000, up from 302,000 last week. Raw took a gigantic hit this week. A lot of people were not impressed with the go-home show. It barely cracked 3 million for the entire night. Hour 1 didn't even crack 3 million. Hour 2, 3.14. Hour 3 fell to 2.88. I'm going to have to look at this here. Day after Christmas was the last time Hour 1 was under 3 million, Trevor.
I mean, it's bound to happen. They're kind of in a little bit of a slump right now.
Yeah.
I don't think post WrestleMania. I mean, it got people buzzing a little bit, but some things happen here, some things happen there, and
helps when you have a champion on the show.
Right? Yeah, that definitely hurts. I think because you don't know where any of the top guys are going with anything.
No,
it's like who's gonna. You think Roman's challenging for the title, and then he gets taken out by Braun, and then obviously he's going to take some time off because of his brother, which sucks. But it's it's just one of those things where circumstances have led to a pretty lackluster Raw for the past few weeks. So
yeah, SmackDown fell as well. I mean, it felt like a rock last week. This week's drop was a little less severe, but still 2.493 million, which we have not seen marks that low since early December as well. So SmackDown continues to suffer as well. We'll talk about SmackDown in just a little bit, but first, 205 Live. Not much to talk about on 205 Live, Trevor, except for the fact that it was just awesome. 3 good matches. I kind of like what they're doing with Drew Gulak with his no-fly zone gimmick. I kind of like what they're doing there. I really loved the pairing of Akira Tozawa and Rich Swann as a tag team. They defeated Noam Dar and Brian Kendrick to start off. Mustafa Ali, who's probably got the hottest stock in the 205 Live division right now. He lost to Tony Nese by disqualification because of Drew Gulak. And then a great main event non-title match between Neville and Jack Gallagher. Trevor, have you been catching up with 205 Live lately?
I'll be honest, I haven't been watching it.
It is. It's good. They found their place, and the storylines are good. And the matches are phenomenal because they get time.
You mean the storyline isn't just Alicia Fox finding a different boyfriend every week?
No, that's done now, thankfully.
It's always a good sign.
Rich Swann was buying her gifts and wanted to act like he was interested in stealing and stole her away from Noah and Dar, only to drop her like a rock because he had his brother Cedric Alexander's back. So,
of course he does, because they're both black, so they have to be a tag team.
Exactly.
Welcome to pro wrestling.
I think. Titus O'Neil, Apollo Crews. Hello.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think Alicia's done with 205 Live, probably for good. And maybe it means Cedric's almost back too. Hopefully, so.
Yeah.
NXT tonight. NXT is always entertaining, Trevor, but it always seems to me lately that it's full of squash matches and then the main event.
Well, yeah, I mean that's because they're trying to build up a lot of guys.
Yeah,
because they have a lot of new talent that they need the audience to basically figure out, for lack of a better term.
The night started with a great brawl between Ruby Riott and Nikki Cross that was broken up by security. They then William Regal says they will have a match later on to settle their differences. I figured I was kind of surprised at the Andrade Cien Almas Drew McIntyre match. I thought it'd be a little more competitive, but Drew dominated this one a lot more. It wasn't as back and forth as his match with Onnie Lorcan was it?
No.
But then, of course, now they're playing off the gimmick where Andrade just doesn't care. He's just going to go party afterwards. So I think that maybe that's where they're going with that.
Thomas.
Who would you like to feud with Drew McIntyre for TakeOver Chicago?
I don't even know. I mean, if they're since they're doing Rude and Atami, I mean, they could do Ono and McIntyre.
Yeah, they're both good guys, but
that could lead to a. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's it's kind of hard to pick somebody at this point because they don't have a ton of. Doesn't feel like they have a ton of heels on top. So I don't know what they're going to do with him, at least leading up to when inevitably he's going to go for the title at some point, I'm sure.
How great was the vignette on the story of Roddy Strong's life?
Oh, it was really good.
Yeah.
WWE does, when they do that stuff, it's always the best, pretty much hands down the best thing on the show.
And good for the guy that they're doing it on, because they got their they're really pushing the guy, and Roddy, I mean, a hell of a talent, no doubt.
Well, it's going to get you to connect more with him as a person.
Yep.
And that's never a bad thing. And that's missed a lot of times in wrestling, is you just don't understand. You don't understand where someone's coming from, or there's just. You have a tough time connecting to them. And this is a good way to get an audience that might not be into Roderick Strong into Roderick Strong.
Exactly. They talk about him growing up. They go back to his trailer in Tampa, Florida, overcoming a lot of things. Obviously, Roddy got emotional, talking about his mother having a drug issue. His father was a rock and roller. They talk about when his mother shot his father, he thought drugs and alcohol were involved. And thought, well, the life that his dad lived, probably thought some guy at a bar shot him, but then found out what happened. But his mom built a resilient person, and now, the relationship between him and his mom are good. She's always at shows with him, and they showed the bond between those two. They talk about how his dad got into pro wrestling. And brought Roddy along, and mentioned his dad training with Jim Neihart, and so some pretty cool stuff there. And part 2 of that will air next week on NXT. One of my favorite blue chippers, Kona Reeves. Hopefully he can put things together and eventually become a star in NXT. He took on, unfortunately, he wasn't going to be a star tonight because he took on Aleister Black.
Oh yeah, definitely not.
God, how good is Aleister Black?
He's really good. Man, I don't see a ton in Kona Reeves yet, but that's also,
I don't either, but I see it. I can see something. Kind of like, with Angelo Dawkins, but yet he never was able to put it together just yet either. So.
Yeah, I mean, but if you look at the same time, there was guys like Scott Dawson and guys like Ty Dillinger and Jason Jordan who floated around for a little bit where they weren't doing a whole heck of a lot, and then once they figured out the character that they needed, then it clicked.
I mean, for crying out loud, Ty Dillinger was the first tag team partner of Cody Rhodes at OVW.
Yeah. So
I absolutely love the black mass kick. It's becoming one of my favorite finishers. I see nothing but just gigantic things for Tommy End coming along the way.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know about the main roster because you never know how that's going to shake out.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
It feels like that he's got that kind of indie vibe and talent that could a CM Punk fan could get behind, and I think he could be not that huge, but he could be huge in a way down the line.
Yeah, he's the John Constantine of WWE.
How badass was that just to meditate in the middle of a match?
Yeah, it's definitely working, and you can tell he's more comfortable now than he was at TakeOver, which obviously you're going to be a little bit nervous on your first time out. So
he still landed that black mass kick at TakeOver though.
Yeah, that's true. Like once he got his bearings, like it took him a couple minutes, but once he got into it, you could tell he shook that off a bit, and so.
Ruby Riott cut a promo backstage. Then we go to led us to Andrade leaving Full Sail with a bunch of women. Who cares if he lost? He's got a bunch of women with him. We're supposed to get Ruby Riott versus Nikki Cross. This led out to an all-out brawl where four grown-ass men had a hard time containing one woman. How great was this brawl, Trevor?
Oh, it was awesome. These two women are doing great things, and I think they're going to continue to thrive in NXT.
I hope we get a no DQ, or maybe, dare I say it, a last woman standing match at TakeOver Chicago. I want to put that out there for the creative units that listen to Lost in the Midcard. A last woman standing. We haven't ever seen that. I think these two women could pull that off.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
And then, no surprise, the main event was phenomenal for the United Kingdom title. Jack Gallagher, Tyler Bate. Let's see how many. Basically, the beginning of the match is let's see how many ways Tyler Bate can bend, right? God, when he had his arm wrenched back and he put his hand on his palm, on Tyler's palm, and pushed it back further, I'm like, ow.
Yeah.
Very good match between these guys, no doubt. And how lethal are those headbutts from Gallagher? Those look like they legit will fuck somebody up.
Yeah, I don't know if they want to keep doing those. just throwing that out there.
I think he just makes it look good. But
yeah, I that has to be the case, or else that dude would have a concussion every week.
But in the end, Bate gets the Tyler Driver 97 in for the win, while they show Wolfgang, Trent Seven, Pete Dunne, and Mark Andrews in the front row as they tease the new United Kingdom weekly television show coming soon. I don't think they've kind of even hinted as to when that's happening, right?
No, I think they're probably still working out the details, in all honesty. So,
go to SmackDown Live. We'll talk SmackDown first since it's a Raw pay-per-view. SmackDown Live this week kicks off with the artist known as Shinsuke Nakamura. Do you like that introduction, Trevor?
It works.
How are you surprised that the WWE universe is so into Nakamura from day one?
No.
I mean, we know he's great, but
no.
The casual crowd?
No, I'm not. That entrance tells you everything you need to know.
Exactly.
And all you need is for that casual fan to be watching SmackDown when he makes his debut, and then to see that and see a good crowd reaction. It's like, man, this guy's pretty cool.
Yep.
You know? So,
did you ever hear the story? that originally Bobby Roode's theme was going to be for Nakamura.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah. And thank God it wasn't, because Bobby's theme works great for Bobby, and Nakamura's theme works great for Nakamura.
Yeah, absolutely.
What'd you think of the Ziggler Nakamura segment to start off SmackDown Live this week?
It wasn't bad. It was good.
Good opponent for Nakamura's first feud.
I mean, it's a good way that's going to make Nakamura look good. I mean, if you can say anything about Dolph Ziggler, he's going to make his opponent look good in their match. So that's why Ziggler ends up being the first opponent for a lot of guys. So,
well, he was for Baron Corbin.
Yeah, that's exactly the one I was thinking of too.
The crowd popped wildly for Nakamura when he called Ziggler a jackass. Nakamura got kicked in the ribs by Ziggler. Ziggler went for another kick, but Nakamura caught him and gave him an overhead suplex. Was teasing the Kinshasa, but Ziggler bailed. AJ Styles makes his entrance to a big, rousing ovation, as always, as he is your number one contender for the United States title. He takes on Baron Corbin in an 11-minute match, and I thought these guys worked really well together. Kind of a quick out of nowhere finish, but I thoroughly enjoyed Styles and Corbin. But of course, I think a lot. I mean, Styles doesn't put on a bad match, does he?
No. And I think Baron's coming into his own as well.
Yeah, and I think Vince. I think Vince wants to put a rocket up his ass, and I'm happy that he would, because I do think Corbin. I enjoyed him a lot in NXT. I liked him in NXT, and
I think he keeps getting better.
Yeah, he had a great first. He had a great first year. You know.
Yeah.
Post match, Owens attacked AJ, and then Corbin joined in, and then Sami Zayn comes in to make the save. And I was just waiting for Teddy Long to come in and say, "We got a tag team main event, player." But no Teddy Long. American Alpha took on the Colognes, and are we finally to the point where WWE's treating Primo and Epico seriously, Trevor?
I hope so. I mean, they're a really good tag team.
I think attaching the Cologne name is a step in the right direction.
Yeah, for sure. It goes on their legacy, you know, all that good stuff. They actually picked up a win against American Alpha last week. I mean, they're getting somewhat of a little bit of a push, even if it's just to help them gain some credibility, which they sorely needed.
But they were unable to dethrone Alpha here, as they defeated Primo and Epico in 5 minutes and 17 seconds. And then that means the next match, Breezango and the Ascension, the winner has to beat that clock in order to be the number one contender. That'll come up later on. Another vignette for the New Day coming soon. Of course, they're waiting for Kofi to heal, so which is fine. I like a little tease of the New Day. Give us a little break, but we didn't really need a break from the New Day. But at the same time,
I kind of think we did. And all.
You think so?
I think that I like the New Day. I like the guys in the New Day, but their act is getting a little bit stale, I think.
Well, they definitely were more entertaining as heels than they are as faces.
Yeah, I mean that's probably part of it. But you know, when you're doing the same thing, you know, after a while, it's going to get that way. And so having some time off is never a bad thing.
What did you think of Rusev's promo on SmackDown?
I mean, like it wasn't a bad promo. It's just like, I don't think he's really enticing the crowd or like really getting any heat by saying if, you know, he doesn't get a title shot, he's just going to go back to Bulgaria. I mean, like, you're a heel, and if people like really do hate you, they're just going to be like, yeah, go back to Bulgaria. Like, we care. You know, like I don't understand the logic behind it, I guess.
Do you think this is leading to the push he deserves when he comes back and he is inserted in the main event? Or are they talking about the U.S. title?
I don't know, man.
Which right now seems like the U.S. title is more of a main event title.
I don't know. It depends on what they're gonna do with the WWE title. I'd really. I'm gonna be the first to say this. I really want Jinder Mahal to take that title.
I will talk about Jinder in a minute, and it's going to be positive. I'll let you know. But first, Becky Lynch was interviewed by Dasha Fuentes when the what are dubbed as the New Winch Order, which was dubbed by Becky Lynch on Talking Smack. How great is that for a name? The New Winch Order.
Sounds like something Becky would say.
Natalya, Tamina, and Carmella trying to get Becky to join their side to anti-Charlotte. Then we get ourselves Randy Orton against Eric Rowan. And much like Luke Harper, Trevor, I see a lot of great improvement out of Eric Rowan right now. And him and Orton had a great match for the no DQ match on SmackDown.
Yeah, I mean, for as much as people sometimes like to rag on Orton has great matches with guys all the time. Like, he goes out there, he makes everybody look good.
Yeah, and Rowan wasn't really. Harper was the better of the two.
Oh yeah,
when in the Wyatt family, but Rowan, on his own here, I think he's starting to kind of get to the point where Luke Harper was when he first started to become good. Now I see Luke Harper as elite talent. Like he should be in the main event picture now.
Yeah, honestly, I was really surprised he didn't win that 6-pack challenge. To be completely honest with you.
Yeah, and so I think Rowan is kind of on the cusp of where Harper was maybe say a year ago.
Yeah.
And I was impressed with how Rowan looked in this match against that. Post-match, Orton took the mic and was talking about the House of Horrors match, and that brought out Jinder Mahal, who was mad that Orton was overlooking him. And Mahal said that he has more wealth and talent and more class and culture than anybody in this arena. And then he would go off and speak in Punjabi. And went for a punch, but Orton blocked it and punched him. Orton was going for his vintage DDT, but the Singh brothers came and grabbed him by the feet. And then Mahal dropped Orton with the Cobra Clutch Slam, stole the title, and left the arena. I think, obviously they maybe should have built Jinder a little better before last week. But I think this was the best thing they could have done.
And they still have some time before Backlash too. So I mean, I think that helps them a lot.
I think this is the best thing they could have done for Jinder this week.
Yeah, they need to help build him up as a legit threat, and I think that definitely helped here. I think there's a lot of upside to Jinder. The dude's obviously been working hard to get to this point. So, I mean, fuck it. Why not give the guy a chance?
Yeah, I'm excited to see what he and Orton can do at Backlash.
And you know what? Screw it. Playoff xenophobia. Like, obviously WWE has done that for years. So, yeah. And I think it works, if it...
And oddly enough, I think that's what's kind of pushed Mustafa Ali in 205 Live, the fact that he is the anti
xenophobic kind of character, yeah.
He doesn't want to be the stereotype, and he's just been impressive in the ring, and so he's a guy that like.
Yeah, and I mean, if you think about it too, I mean, sure he was built up a little bit more, but if you look at like the rise of JBL. I mean, I don't think anybody ever pictured during the Attitude Era that fucking Bradshaw from the Acolytes would be the heavyweight champion.
No, and people have made comparisons to that.
Yeah,
I think maybe JBL might have mentioned that on Talking Smack. I'm not 100% sure.
And JBL comes in there, he does the whole cabinet thing, and then it works. So, you bring in Jinder, you have the Bollywood boys, the Singh brothers behind him. I mean, you start the Maharaja, I think that could work for him.
A lot of people are saying, oh, this looks like the Punjabi version of Seth Rollins with J&J Security.
Kind of.
But I enjoyed it. I was a little baffled, though. I mean, if you're rich and wealthy, why are you renting a limo in Iowa? Why don't you just go buy one? But hey, to each their own. But I think with the sudden push Jinder winning, now that shock is worn off, I think the follow-up was the best they could do for him, I think. So I don't know if the majority are going to still think that way. But, I mean, I know his peers are well behind him. A lot of his peers are happy that he's in this spot. And I think their Twitter, it's not overwhelming, but I think there are a lot of fans that are happy just because it's somebody new.
Yeah.
So let's see where it goes. I think this week changed my opinion on it a little more, and I wouldn't mind seeing a title change.
Yeah, like I think it, like I almost think they kind of have, like if they want to do anything with that character going forward, I think they kind of have to. Because if they ever want him to at least seem like he can go from nothing to a major player, I mean, the best thing they could do for him is give him the title. I mean, I wouldn't have said a couple months ago, give Jinder the belt, but
No.
I mean, he's looked good recently, and I think,
I mean, look how quick guys like Jack Swagger did it.
yeah.
And while he fizzled, I mean, it fizzled out, but at the same time, he was a player for a while.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, whether this ends up being a big run for him or just a year, I'm not saying keep the belt on him for a year, but as far as being a at least player in that top mix, they need.
Clearly, he has something. He clearly has something.
Yeah,
because
absolutely. There's something
he would
there.
he wouldn't have been in the finals of the NXT Championship tournament against Seth Rollins if there wasn't something there.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like there's definitely something there for Jinder. They just never fully realized it until recently, and I honestly hope they do something with him. And like Randy Orton doesn't need the belt.
No.
What?
He didn't need to beat Bray.
No, he really didn't. I mean,
somebody on Reddit pointed this out. If you go to I don't know if you've ever been to ProFightDB.com, but it gives you all the matches somebody's in their career, including not just televised, but house shows and everything in that. Bray Wyatt has a 30% win percentage in his career.
Yeah.
Nobody believes anything.
Yeah, I mean, but that's been the WWE booking for so long for what feels like everybody, where nobody gets that streak, nobody gets those wins. It's always win loss, win loss, win loss, or you think somebody's about to break out, and then it's lose, 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 lose. Which I mean that works sometimes, but not with everybody. If Sami Zayn is losing but still fighting hard, it works. But if a character that's larger than life, like Bray Wyatt's losing, then people just start to lose faith and just don't care anymore.
Speaking of winning out of nowhere, how about Breezango as your new number one contenders for the tag team titles? I say well deserved.
Yeah, I mean those guys are really good. So
Yeah.
I mean I don't have a problem with it. Again, it's one of those things out of nowhere, where it's. They haven't been booked particularly well for the past year. But you know what? I almost feel the Cena influence here, in a sense, because.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
I mean by that is I'm pretty sure they're friends with Cena. They did the Southpaw Regional Wrestling stuff with Cena. They did the Nikki Bella, Maurice, Breezy Bella thing with Cena. I mean, I think Cena probably saw something in them and probably put in a good word, and I think that's why we're seeing them in the tag title picture now.
And I've always been I don't know if I'm probably in the minority, but I've always been a Johnny Curtis fan. I've always liked his look, his style, his promos. I always liked him and Fandango, and I thought it would eventually lead to something bigger, but it never did. So I've always been a fan of his, and obviously Tyler Breeze is amazing, deserves more than he's gotten. But pairing the two together. I loved the pair right away. I hated the fucking name, but I can't remember. I came up with the name a long time ago, but
yeah, but you know what? It works because, especially with the way their characters are, because it goes off of like the Hollywood naming convention of like making these stupid fucking cute couple names.
Brangelina.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and I'm excited to see how what they do is how they entertain as a face too, baby faces too.
You know what? They're fun to watch. So, I mean,
they were great on Talking Smack too this week.
Yeah,
I don't know if you caught Talking Smack this week.
I haven't actually watched it this week. I need to, but
next up is Charlotte Flair against Naomi, which went about 10 minutes before the no contest when, of course, Stevie Wonder saw this coming. Yeah. The new Lynch order came in and attacked both women. Saw that coming a mile away. I figured it was going to happen last week, but
the only thing I don't like about it is I don't like them not letting Naomi beat Charlotte.
Yeah, they're kind of keeping that. Yeah,
because I mean, if eventually it builds to that, I mean, but Naomi being able to beat Charlotte would have made her look stronger as a champion, which her losing to Charlotte last week kind of hurt a little bit. I mean, not in the whole scheme of things, but
you knew it was going to happen because it was non-title. And that's
right, exactly. They do that shit all the time, and I thought they did that last week because then this week they would give Naomi the win and and help build her up a little bit more. Show she can hang with someone like Charlotte. I mean, she can obviously.
Yeah.
But
what do you think about turning Charlotte babyface?
It's interesting, and like I don't. But at the same time, I kind of understand why the other women would be upset that Charlotte just comes in and gets a title shot. Yeah. So, like, I almost feel sympathy for who's supposed to be the heel in this instance than who's supposed to be turning babyface. So, I don't know if it necessarily works, but, like, because again, like, I understand that, Natty, Carmella, and, well, to a lesser extent, Tamina, have been working hard to get another shot at the SmackDown Women's title, and then Charlotte just comes in. It's like, okay, cool, we'll just give you a title shot. I mean, granted, they made her earn it, but she had one match, and then it's like, there you go. So, and no one else got that opportunity.
I loved Scott Fishman's tweet. It's nice that the popular high school girls allowed James Ellsworth to hang around with him. That was great. So a good episode of SmackDown, but a lot better than last week. Was kind of a little disjointed.
Yeah.
So a lot better this week. But Monday Night Raw.
That was a thing that happened.
Go home show for Payback. Very long opening segment. Yeah,
it was a very long opening segment that in the end meant absolutely jack shit.
Yep.
Because
though I loved Ambrose's gift to Jericho though.
Yeah. I mean, like, there was some funny moments and stuff, and you're gonna get that when you have the talent that's in there. But like,
20-minute opening.
Yeah, it was too long, and it just didn't lead to anything. It led to a tag match main event that I don't think anybody gave a shit about. And
no, because it was the main event of a pay-per-view that had 1, 2. At least half of that match doesn't have a match at Payback.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was just like, what? Like, and I mean, I'm jumping ahead now, but in that main event when Bray Wyatt comes out, this is a mystery partner. Like, wouldn't it have made more sense if they just for one night only got Kevin Owens to be the partner and just came out and destroyed Jericho? Like,
yeah, and I was hoping I was hoping on SmackDown it would lead to a tag team match. And then Jericho comes out and beats up Owens at the end, to
yeah, it's like it's with them being on different brands, they just completely are just like, whatever, fuck it. We're not gonna like really like they're pushing it with promos, but they're not pushing it with anything else. I mean, granted, they have a bunch of history and stuff, but it's like, the writing's pretty much telegraphed on what's gonna happen.
Yeah,
because Kevin Owens is keeping that belt, but.
I loved how they, did the callback of how Dean still owes Jericho $15,000 for his jacket, and actually, I was in attendance.
Yeah, I mean that's the one thing I did like is that they actually remembered past storylines. Because WWE has that tendency to do, completely forget about things that happened in the past, and all of a sudden it's like, we're friends.
That was the SmackDown I attended here in town, so that was cool. I got to see Jericho's jacket get destroyed, and then got to talk on the phone with Bray Wyatt for a few minutes after that. That was the last September. And I told him, no bullshit, I told him, I go, I know eventually that things are, I know there's great things are going to happen for you. And sure enough, he won the title a few months later.
Yeah. You got him the belt, JB.
I did. Unfortunately, I didn't for his brother either. I go, I told him, I go, I like the main streak your brother's starting to show too now. And then, well, he's kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
So it only worked for Bray, not Bo. Following up from the great match between Cesaro and Jeff Hardy last week, we get Matt Hardy and Sheamus, which was a solid match in its own right between these guys. Matt's starting to get a little more broken. I love that. I thought these guys had a good match. You a little surprised they still were playing nice? I think I know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I really expected Sheamus to do the handshake and then turn back around and with a bro
kick him.
Yeah, but I guess that's what they always.
I think the friendliness will end when the Hardy Boys beat them at Payback, and then that leads to attack and probably a rematch.
Yeah, I could see that, but problem is there's so many tag teams on that roster. It feels like that. But I guess if they were building up the Revival, and now that the Revival's out for a couple months, they fill it with something else. So I guess we'll see. We'll see where this goes.
Kurt Angle backstage when Miz and Maurice show up and to complain, and one of the best parts about that was Maurice yelling at Angle in French, and Kurt says, "Right back at you."
Kurt just has great timing. In with the character stuff that he does, it's.
And when Stephanie comes back, it's gonna be
hilarious.
Comedy gold. It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
We got a cruiserweight tag match after that. Neville and T.J. Perkins took on Austin Aries and Jack Gallagher. That went all of 4 minutes. Discus 5-arm. I love that name, by the way. Discus 5-arm. Basically, it was set up for. Basically, the match was set up to make Aries look strong off the hot tag. Dumpster match between Strowman and Kalisto. I thought it was okay for what it was, Trevor, and a great near fall.
You know what? The actual match itself, was pretty good. To be completely honest, the work itself was awesome. I will say, I really liked, it was just weird that the dumpster match was just them stepping in the dumpster and not having the thing closed like traditionally a dumpster match would. That's where it kind of is weird. I liked Kalisto's new look. His his whole new presentation and stuff was really cool.
His new theme sounds like Lucha Rammstein or Lucha Techno.
Yeah, but it the moment I heard it, I wasn't sold, but then it grew on me after a minute. So I liked all that stuff, and you can definitely tell they're making Kalisto the new Rey Mysterio. For sure, especially because he got the win over Braun.
I thought it was going to happen a lot sooner than it has, though.
Yeah, I kind of thought so too, because it seemed like that's where they were going when they were having him beat Ryback a couple years ago.
When they broke up the Lucha Dragons.
Yeah, so, but I mean, I don't mind seeing Kalisto getting that role. It's just so weird. They have it. It feels almost like start-stop with Braun when he should just be this monster and beating everybody.
And Braun has been just amazing over the past year.
But he keeps losing, random matches.
But that was a fluke gimmick, so...
Yeah, that's why, the finish doesn't really hurt anybody, because Braun still did the pushing, which looked really weak with the size of their stage now.
Yeah.
It just didn't look like it had the impact that it would have had years ago. So,
Of course, we all knew what was going to happen.
yeah, obviously.
Braun beats the shit out of Kalisto, throws him off the dumpster, and then we get the serious voices from the announcers.
Yeah.
They aired a little video package for Roman Reigns. And then Bray Wyatt did a promo, one of his typical promos.
Yep.
Alicia Fox took on Dana Brooke in a very sloppy match.
Yeah.
Wow, that finisher was ugly.
Man, like...
They should never have called it. They should have kept her in NXT.
Well, they shouldn't have called Dana Brooke up, but, like...
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, they should have
Alicia's
kept her in
not the
NXT.
smoothest. I would say of the more experienced women from the Divas era, she's probably the worst one they have there.
Outside of the she does a pretty damn good Northern Light suplex though.
Yeah, I mean she definitely has her moments, but like overall she's just like you can tell she's left over from that era in a sense. Where wrestling didn't matter as much. She tries though. But I don't think she's the veteran to put in there with Dana Brooke.
No.
Dana Brooke should have someone there with more, well, not necessarily more experience, but that's better to help bring her up. But maybe that's what Emma will do. So
after the match, Emma comes up and gives her an awkward hug and leaves. Don't know where that's going, but
it's going to a match, JB. Obviously,
I guess. They announced that the House of Horrors match will start in the House of Horrors, then end in the ring.
awesome.
We'll talk about Payback here shortly. The trio of Samoa Joe, Gallows, and Anderson were interviewed by Charlie Caruso, and it's always great when Gallows calls Enzo and Cass nerds. And a great mark-out moment, Trevor, when Samoa Joe did the two-sweet with the club. Enzo and Cass do their usual entrance while they were about to, and all of a sudden, Cass kind of disappeared over the railing, and then Gallows and Anderson hit the Magic Killer on Enzo. Rollins came out for the save, and then Cass finally came back to join the fight. Enzo being checked on by doctors that go to break. Angle comes out and says he has found a new partner for Cass and Rollins, and is none other than Finn Balor. So he will join Rollins and Cass to take on Gallows, Anderson, and Joe. How weird was it seeing Balor take on Gallows and Anderson?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, a lot of what's going on just is so weird. Like, this is the downside of not having a title on Raw every week, is that we have, like, this just random six-man tag where, like, guys like, either Balor or Rollins could be fighting for the Universal title, whereas instead they're just in, like, this random match. Like, the Seth Rollins Samoa Joe thing makes sense because of the injury stuff, but it's like, it's just so weird. Like, it's like they were like, yeah, we need Finn Balor back, but then we don't know what we're gonna do with him yet.
Hey, we're gonna put him on the pre-show on Miz TV.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
It's like we want him there because we want, like, people will watch Finn Balor, but it's like, what are we building towards with him? Because it doesn't feel like they're building anything. Like even if this tag match, if there was, like, if you could see like a few signs of animosity between Seth Rollins and Finn Balor because of Balor's injury, like even if it was just like small little subtle things, like, but no.
Well, and they kind of did that when Balor returned. They had like a little awkward staring. They had a little awkward moment at the end of that Raw.
Yeah, they did
when they were celebrating.
But like, they should still have that, like, because they haven't had that moment yet where they're like, all right, man, like, I know it wasn't personal, blah blah, like, they haven't had that moment, so they should still at least have a little bit, or at least Balor should have a little bit of animosity towards Rollins. Mm-hmm. It's just weird.
One of the absolute highlights of the women's division is Alexa Bliss. She has just been great on the microphone and, of course, in the ring.
I love Alexa Bliss.
Somebody's going to probably throw something at me, but I am starting to not like Bayley's promos.
I don't know if it's. I agree with you.
I can't get behind him. I can't get behind him.
I agree with you, and I don't know whether it's her or just what they're giving her. And that's
probably B.
Yeah, like they just don't seem genuine, and it's just like they kind of have her saying the same thing every week, and it's just like, okay, like we've heard all this before, like we know, like we know how big of a fan you were growing up, Bailey, and that's why we love you, and all this stuff, but like it's just, yeah, I just don't think they know what to do, like do with that character on the main roster.
Well, Vince doesn't know what to do with women, period, on those rosters.
Yeah, that's pretty much true.
That build with her and Charlotte sucked too.
Yeah.
Bliss and Banks had a match, an impromptu match, but that ended with the thing WWE likes to do a lot, with the heel walking away and get counted out.
But it totally works because it's Alexa Bliss. Like that's the thing. Like with Alexa Bliss's character, they can do shit like that because she's, the diminutive diva, as Mauro Ranallo would say.
5 feet of fury.
Yeah, so I mean, she's small. She gets in there and she, cheats her way to winning. And the fact that it was a match that was just thrown together, that it didn't matter if she won or lost. So why should she care? She's just gonna walk out.
Great. I thought this was a great segment with backstage Chris Jericho and Dean Ambrose, and Ambrose saying he wanted to be taken off the list, and Jericho says that doesn't happen. And he noted that Ambrose destroyed his jacket, reminded him that he gave him a powerbomb on 69 thumbtacks, and it's pretty cool. I like that segment. Jericho unmade the list until he walked away, and Jericho wrote his name back down again. I thought it was pretty fun.
Yeah.
First, Miz tried to talk to Sheamus and Cesaro to get a partner to face Ambrose and Jericho. They said, fuck you. So then he tried to buddy up to his Marine 5 co-stars, Heath Slater and Curtis Axel, and Slater's got, I already got a partner. And Axel said, no. And then Rhino showed up with his cheese whiz and crackers, and Maurice slapped them out of his hands. But then Miz was handed a piece of paper, and he smiled. It looked like he got a fax. Did Bray Wyatt fax him, or did he send him a fax?
Yeah, that's what Bray Wyatt did. He used the power of Sister Abigail to send a fax through time and space to be the Miz's tag team partner.
That makes sense. Kurt Hawkins was offering anybody that wanted to join his Star Factory to come on down. I enjoy this little moments we get with Kurt Hawkins.
Kurt Hawkins is really good in the role he's in, for sure.
Yeah. I'd like to see more out of him.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I don't think they're ever going to give him that,
No. Apollo Crews made the answered the call and beat him in about 3 minutes, and then Titus O'Neil came and took a great awkward selfie. Oh, there's a lot of great memes out there for that.
The thing to make me care about Apollo Crews is not to have him be with Titus or doing anything with Titus.
I like Titus, but this Titus brand thing is...
it doesn't work, I don't think.
No.
Like, it's just, like, because I liked Titus, too. I mean, I think Titus is a good dude, and I think he works hard. I think he, made one mistake, and now he's paying for it. But yeah, I just...
Don't grab the boss's arm.
Yeah, exactly. They haven't given me a reason to ever care about Apollo. Ever.
And you hear that? That was another guy that too soon to get called
absolutely. Up. He had no character development in NXT. Obviously, he's a great in-ring performer for sure.
Yeah, he gets some oohs and ahs, but when the music's playing, the crowd sits on their hands.
Yeah, I agree. He just doesn't There's just something missing there, and I think honestly, if they sent him back to NXT for 6 months, he'd be better off.
And if I remember correctly, he had 0 freaking storylines in NXT.
Yeah, he didn't. It was just all let's just have a match with this guy, and then let's have a match with this,
The announcer said that Kalisto had hip and cervical trauma. I guess it's better than anal bleeding. Anytime the announcers talk about injuries, fake injuries, I always got to throw in the anal bleeding.
It's because you're classy, JB.
Remember that? When I think it was Michael Cole had to deliver that line on Jerry the King Lawler after he got beat down or something. You remember that at all?
No, I don't at all.
Yeah, and Michael Cole said, and suffering from anal bleeding. So every time an injury is brought up, I always bring up anal bleeding because Michael Cole said that once. They showed a video or some quotes from Roman Reigns talking about his brother Rosie passing away and looking forward to his match with Strowman at Payback. Austin Aries walking backstage with Kurt Angle, talking about something with 205 Live. And I'm kind of wondering where they're going with that. Seems like a little tease to something down the road, but I don't know what, Trevor. What'd you make of the little Aries and Angle?
I don't know. But who knows? It could mean nothing. Because WWE does that stuff sometimes. So
Angle, it could have just been filler.
Yeah.
Because Angle then goes up to runs into Miz and Maurice, asks Miz if he found a partner, and he says he's not going to spoil the partner for Angle, but tonight will be a rough night for Ambrose and Jericho. And then the well-timed Drifter comes playing his guitar behind them. I always love those random Drifter cameos. But I think it's a fan club of one for me and the Drifter.
yes. No, I mean it's really funny because he's a local guy around where I'm at. So a lot of guys that I know are actually friends with him, including the one of the guys I'm about to become a manager for. Actually helped him pick out the name, pick out his WWE name, which is fun.
Yeah, I like the gimmick. I do. I've always enjoyed Elias Sampson ever since he was become the Drifter. I just like the gimmick.
Yeah, no, I don't think he's bad at all. They just haven't I guess they just never really gave him too much of a chance on NXT in a way.
Well, he never got pushed at all. He got pushed a little bit.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm interested to see what they do with it, and I hope they do give him a chance.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a complete wizard in the ring, but he's not terrible either.
No. So I think he'll do a pretty good job if they give him the chance, for sure. So I'm interested to see what they do with him. Like I said, he is a local guy. A lot of people that I know him. He was in this scene before I was in it, so I really never met him or anything like that. But it's interesting.
And then we got the end of Raw. So weird. Two baby faces beating up a heel until Bray Wyatt shows up, cleans house, and then gives Miz's sister Abigail too. I guess there was moments where Miz looked pretty. He had control of the match, which kind of give credit to the Miz for being able to take control of the match for a little while. But on a handicap match, but I mean, what is this doing on the main event of a go home show, Trevor?
I mean, it just comes down to it's they're not giving any of these guys anything to really I just don't know what they're doing with any of these guys.
No,
other than having Jericho lose to Kevin Owens on pay-per-view. You know, I don't know what are they doing with Miz and Ambrose? I'm surprised they're not having an IC title match on the pay-per-view.
Yeah. Let's go to Payback. Let's end the show with our Payback predictions. First off, the pre-show is Enzo and Cass against Gallows and Anderson. I have not done research on this, Trevor, but I always err on the side of the baby faces winning on the pre-show, so I'm going to go Enzo and Cass.
I don't know. I mean, they played up the beating up Enzo on Raw to take him out of the match. So, I mean, I'm going to go with Gallows and Anderson on this one.
I think they should win.
Yeah, because, I mean,
I don't know.
But they also, because they did win the tag titles on the pre-show for the Rumble, so.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, Enzo and Cass probably need a win because they seem to lose a lot, but.
This one's a little weird. I don't think this is as obvious as people are making, or that are probably thinking this is. But for the Raw Women's Championship, Alexa Bliss and Bayley, part of me thinks Sasha costs Bayley the championship and Alexa comes out.
I don't know if Sasha will cost her the championship.
So you don't think the heel turn is going to be? I don't think
they're going to do a heel turn like that. Because it would kind of make Sasha aligned with Alexa. It just doesn't make any sense from that standpoint. I could see them giving Alexa the belt and then Sasha thinking she should get the shot at it instead of Bayley, even though Bayley's due the rematch. Yeah. So that
it doesn't feel as obvious as it should, but I'm still going to go Bayley here. But I could see a title match change. Obviously, they're high on Alexa. She's 2-time champion on SmackDown.
Yeah, I mean, I feel so weird, like she just comes over to Raw and like takes the title. But honestly, Alexa's been the most consistent, best performer overall on the SmackDown brand for a long time. So I'm gonna go with Alexa here. Just because
I don't think they're gonna. I just don't think the WWE is gonna take it off of Bayley right now.
I kind of don't think so either. But at the same time, if they want to make the story more interesting, they have to take it off of Bayley because
plus it's the home. Well, I'm gonna change it to Alexa Bliss because it's gonna be the hometown screwjob.
Yeah, because I mean, like
they like to fuck people over in their hometown.
I like Bayley a lot, but she's not interesting with the title. She's more interesting if she's chasing the title against all odds.
Yeah, and I forgot about it being in her hometown, so I think they're gonna fuck the hometown person and I'm gonna switch it over to Alexa. How do you think the Seth Rollins Samoa Joe match will go? Besides brilliantly,
I mean, it's gonna be a really good match. Like, I don't know who should win. You know, like
I'm going Joe. Rollins doesn't need the win here.
I agree.
Joe needs to be built like a monster, so I'm gonna go Joe here for sure.
I agree, but like the way WWE does stuff, like it's probably going to be Rollins.
I'm going Joe. I think they're going to ride Joe.
Because I want them to, I'm also going to go with Joe.
Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman. I think they're going to play this off as a weakened Roman Reigns to enable Strowman to defeat him.
God, I hope so.
I think that's where they're going with it, because if he showed up on Monday this week, I may have thought differently, but he didn't show up, which is fine.
Which, I mean,
I think he was
there. He was there. He was in the building,
there.
So they just didn't use him.
So I think I think they're gonna play Roman off as a weakened. Obviously, Vince's attempt to get people behind him, but yeah, I think Strowman's gonna win here.
Yeah, I think Strowman absolutely should win here. So I'm gonna go with Strowman, although it wouldn't surprise me if they have Roman win and then next month he's fighting Brock Lesnar.
Boo.
So I hope that's not
better
the case.
Better than Mania, I guess.
Yeah, well, you know what? They had a really good match at Mania until Seth Rollins came in. So
no, I mean, I don't want this to be next year's Mania match, though. What like a lot of people are predicting.
Yeah, I mean that's true, but
so let's get that out of the way now.
But no matter what, it's still going to happen at Mania. So.
Yeah. Cruiserweight Championship, Neville, Austin Aries. Do you see a title change here, Trevor?
Yeah, I think it's time. They gave Neville the big WrestleMania win when I thought Aries was going to get it there, and then they've been. It seemed like Aries was going to win at WrestleMania, and the fact that he didn't just kind of shows me that he's going to probably win it now.
Yeah, and Neville has done a phenomenal job as a heel.
And let's talk about the MVP of the storyline. TJ Perkins as a heel is way better than he is as a babyface.
Exactly. I don't know where this goes from here. Maybe TJ Perkins for Aries. I don't know.
Yeah, because they could. I mean, they can do the Neville Aries rematch and then have Aries and Perkins after that for a little bit. So yeah, I think it works for all parties involved.
House of Horrors match, Randy Orton, Bray Wyatt. Since this is not for the title, I'm going Bray Wyatt here. I think I'm probably wrong, but
I'm going. I'm going. Who cares?
I think it'll be entertaining. It's gonna be entertaining.
It could be. I mean, their WrestleMania match wasn't very great. Wasn't very good. I don't know.
Nah, it was a little weird.
Yeah, they tried to do too much with it, I think.
Yeah,
and that kind of,
and time was kind of getting short.
Yeah. So I think the weird stuff that they tried to do at WrestleMania took away from the match that they could have, but. Yeah, I don't know. Since we don't really know what a House of Horrors match is, it's really hard to say, like, if it's going to be good. But yeah, I think Bray's probably going to win. At least without it, if it's not for the title, Bray wins. I mean, if it is for the title, then Orton wins. I mean,
yeah, it makes no sense to have both titles on Raw. So.
Yeah, that'd be dumb.
Tag Team Championships: Hardy Boys against Cesaro and Sheamus. I think this will be a great match, but clearly. They are not taking the titles off the Hardy Boys.
Yeah, I don't think so.
It's not going to be Cesaro and Sheamus to do that either. So,
no.
And what will probably be the main event of the evening, the last match, Kevin Owens, Chris Jericho for the United States Championship. This is what I was going to say. I was like, well, I thought Jericho was going to win at Mania and then lose it here, and because we all know Jericho's going to be gone.
Yeah.
In May for Fozzy. So, but this I think deserves the main event slot. I think they're going to give us a hell of a show, and obviously Kevin Owens will come out on top. But I'm looking forward to this closing the show, though.
I bet they have Roman and Braun close the show.
Oh yeah, you know what? You're right.
Yeah.
The way they were hyping that up on Monday.
Yep.
Yeah.
I bet they do.
Yeah, never mind.
I bet that's what they do. Give Cena.
Yeah. Makes no sense for Jericho to win this. Obviously,
and I mean, Kevin Owens as the face of America is awesome, and
I mean that mug on the ramp. I mean,
yeah, and I don't think they're gonna do all that building up on SmackDown just to have him lose the title.
No, especially with attacking AJ.
Yeah, exactly, and yeah, so I mean, I think we're gonna see AJ and Kevin Owens, which is gonna be awesome. So. And Jericho, obviously he's going to be gone for a little bit, so I mean he doesn't need the win because what's he going to do? He's just going to drop the title like probably within a week on SmackDown if he did,
And he wasn't even planning on being here this long, but you never know what clicks, and he became one of the most popular people in the WWE.
Jericho's good at that though. He's good at changing it up when he needs to. So.
He reinvented himself quite well because he's been on rolling 30-day contracts for a lot of months now. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of Lost in the Midcard. Thank you to SpiderDuck.net for being our host, enabling us to be on iTunes and any of your favorite podcasting apps. Make sure that you do a search for Lost in the Midcard, hit subscribe if you've done so, tell your friends to do so, and we're also on the YouTube. And the links to that are on our Facebook page, facebook.com/LostInTheMidcard. That way typically every Thursday and most Mondays after WWE pay-per-views when a new show comes your way. Programming note, no show on Monday for Payback as I will not be around, but we will talk Payback next Thursday. Before we ride off into the sunset and hopefully have Payback surprise us with a good evening of fisticuffs, Trevor, what are your final thoughts?
My final thoughts are follow me on Twitter at Trevor Osz, OSZ.
There you go.
And yeah, just check out all the stuff I post. SpiderDuck.net. I've done some podcasts lately. I'm kind of figuring some of that stuff out, but there's going to be more coming. I'm working on some comic book podcasts and stuff, so check all that out.
Keep your eye on that, and we'll have Trevor back here very soon, and hopefully we get Matt off the DL next week, and we will let you know what we think about Payback and if it exceeded our low expectations or not. But for Trevor, this is Jeremy. Thank you for tuning in to Lost in the Midcard. Have yourselves a good week. Enjoy the Payback, and we'll catch you next week.